Hey guys, welcome to Brotherhood Forged.
I'm Joey, and hanging with me is my buddy Paul.
We're just two normal guys following Jesus and trying to lead our families well.
We started this to build a place for real talk, real growth, and real brotherhood.
If you're about faith, leadership, and showing up when it's tough, you're in the right spot. If you like what you hear, hit the share button or leave a review. It helps way more than you know.
Let's get into it. Father God, we give you all the glory. Everything good comes from you. You're the one who renews, restores, and leads us when we feel stuck. Tonight, we ask you to help us see the lies that we've believed, the ones that say we're not enough, that we can't change, or that we're alone, and replace those lies with your truth. Renew our minds, Lord. Help us walk in faith and not in fear. Shape our thoughts so we can show up with love and courage and purpose, because we trust you, Lord. Do a new work in our hearts and our minds. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right, let's hop into it. So you brought this up a couple weeks ago, the topic of mindset. And a friend of mine, Brett, came and said the same thing. He at the episode where I talked about my cousin Josh, he said, hey, you guys started to talk about mindset and mental health as far as men go. You should do a series on that. So as we kept going back and forth, but you already brought it up, we said, hey, let's do a mini mindset series about the next 3 weeks or so and really dive into it. So as we bring that up, how has your mindset shifted and changed as you dove into more of your personal development journey over the years?
So where it started for me was I remember taking a Toastmasters class a few years ago, and that kind of was a time when I was afraid to do a lot of new things. I was always afraid of failure. And I came to the conclusion, I can't even say where it started, that what's the worst that can happen? Say you're on the stage and you have to give a speech. What's the worst that can happen? People laugh at you? I mean, actually, really worst case scenario. So what? I took Toastmaster trying to, learn how to speak a little better, learn how to talk to people a little better. And I had thought about that time and time again before that, and I finally did it because once again, I was like, what is the worst thing that can happen? When I was young and in high school, I didn't try anything new because I was always afraid of ridicule or, someone would laugh at me. But as we get older, who cares, right? Who cares if someone laughs at you?
I was just said to keep building off what you're saying there, man. It's that mindset switch of like you said, what's the worst thing that could happen? And when you look at everything as an opportunity, you're like, okay, the worst thing that could happen is I could fail. I could miss my lines. I could get laughed at. But then if you look at it as an opportunity to learn, then you're better prepared for the next time you try it as well. If you still have the right mindset to not give up on it.
Right. Look at what we're doing right here. We didn't know the first thing about podcasting. This is our 4th episode in. We're learning every day. We just jumped in. We said, well, let's try. What's the worst thing that can happen to us? Give it a year? Give it 2 years? We don't have a date, but we are going to focus on, as we always talk about, chop wood, carry water. We're just focusing on doing what we're doing. We're not going to worry about the numbers. If we focus on doing what we're doing and being men of integrity, being honest, that's something that's very important to both of us, and we're not going to give in for that. We will not compromise our integrity. The worst thing that can happen is we build our friendship for a year or two. We have things for our kids to look back on, maybe our spouse, because one day we won't be here. Maybe it's our grandkids. And they can say, hey, look what my grandpa did. Look what my dad did. He left all of this knowledge for us.
Well said, man. And that's the one thing I think we talked about where I still tend to do this quite a bit is I overthink things and get in my own way because that same thing, the fear of the unknown or the fear of what could happen. And as we broke this down, we're like, all right, we're going to get on here. We're going to have conversations that we already have. We're just kind of putting them out there. So what's the worst thing that can happen? We just continue to have conversations we already have, but now people get to listen to them. And we have had quite a bit of encouragement and support that said, hey, this is good stuff. So again, worst case scenario, we don't do well. We're still having the conversations we had. But I can tell you that probably 5 years ago, maybe a little bit even earlier than that, I wouldn't have been willing to put myself out there because even though we already have these conversations, I still would be too worried about what people might think or if we failed.
Oh, absolutely. Learning how to be vulnerable. First of all, I learned to be vulnerable really in the group we're in. But now that's different. You're in a room with, 5 to 10 guys. This is for anyone and everyone. And I'm at a point now that I'm okay with sharing my stuff.
Mhm.
If it helps one person, it's fantastic. We did our job.
Absolutely. I think it's more and more as we dive into this too, we'll get into like different mindsets from Carol Dweck's book Mindset. But I think for the most part, you and I mostly, I say mostly, I'll get to that in a second, have a growth mindset. And I say mostly because it will never be perfect. And I think we're still overcoming things from our past that will keep us from being a fully growth mindset, which I haven't read the book as deep recently, but I would say there's probably a good balance between growth and fixed mindset where it's like you can't be all one or the other because she even warns about this too. I think you go too far. There's certain things you either you limit yourself too much or you just grow too much where you're never like kind of developing certain things in one area.
Yeah, I agree. 100% growth mindset is not attainable. She talks about in the book, and I recently started reading it again, and it's a very deep read. She gets really in depth, but I think if you can be mostly growth mindset, and we'll, like you said, we'll get into what that means here in a bit. But yeah, I think you're on the right track.
So if I say to you when I first bring up the word mindset, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
Do I believe I can, or do I believe that I can only do what I'm able to do? Does that make sense? So let me give you an example. Basically, Paul, it really does boil down to, do I believe where I'm at is where I'm always going to be,
Hmm.
or do I believe I can rise above and do more? Say you play sports and you're a kid, and you're like the worst one on the team. Your parents, your coach might tell you, hey, you're a pretty good player, but you're never going to be a great player. What if Michael Jordan believed that?
Hmm.
What if Kobe Bryant believed that? Michael Jordan got cut, and it's very common knowledge from his high school team. I don't remember what year it was, but greatest player that's ever played the game, in my opinion. So what if he believed that? The possibilities are endless for all of us.
Mhm.
I'm 55, right? You're 35. I'm looking like I'm closer to retirement than you are, much closer, right? But
Mhm.
I believe that I can still accomplish huge things. I firmly believe that. That's not always been my mindset. That's actually pretty new for me. But I believe that God's got something really big out there for me. And I don't believe it's about me, and I don't want it to be about me, but I believe there are lots of bridges I haven't crossed yet, lots of people that I haven't impacted yet. We'll see. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I firmly believe it, and that's definitely a growth mindset.
100%, man. People close to me, and you know this. I was thinking about a decision over the weekend where it's like you said earlier. Do I think this is all? I'm paraphrasing a little bit. Do I think this is all that's meant for me, or do I think that I can do more? And I'm in a decision right now where do I put myself out there because of the fear of the unknown? I'm in a very manageable spot right now where I know what to expect. For the most part, days can change, right? But this new venture could be completely unknown. So it's like the same thing goes back to that mindset, man. It's like, do I think there's more for me? And can I get out of my own way of that mindset too? So it's something that I think even as we get better at those mindsets, it will still challenge us throughout different examples and different circumstances in life. It'll come back. And the default mindset you had, it may try creeping its way back in there as well.
It sounds like you're fighting comfort. You like where you're at, you're comfortable, you can probably plan things real easily.
Mhm.
Bigger opportunities are unknown, right? Is that fair?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and what I've said to my colleagues many times is sometimes I feel like I'm in golden handcuffs because I have a really good job,
Mhm.
right? Very blessed. Been there 27 years almost in August, and I like my job, but I want to accomplish more. I want to do different things. I want to, and I go back to this all the time, I want to impact people in a positive way. And for me, it's all about my faith.
Mhm.
All about my faith. That's my focus. And you and I both have a similar drive where we want to impact men in a positive way through teaching them that they can do anything, right? Mental health, it's really unlimited. That's just a passion of mine.
Yeah, dude, same. We're in the same boat with that one.
That's why we're
Absolutely.
here.
You brought up Kobe earlier, dude, and I had as we were talking about the notes for where this mindset where we're gonna go, there was a Kobe story that when we talk about mindset, we'll get to this part too, where I think a lot of it comes from your childhood. And as I got older, I mean, older into to parenting. My kids are, my oldest, she'll be 10 years old soon. But it's like I really started to understand the words that you speak to your kids become their inner voice. So the older they get, they carry those words. So if you're believing in them and building them up and pumping them up and like thinking, hey, you can do this, anything's possible. I'm not saying lie to your kids, but if you really believe in them, they'll believe in themselves because they're listening to what you're saying. It's going to feedback that loop in their head too. It's Kobe, the Kobe example. He was middle school, high school, I believe. Before he became Kobe, he said the exact paragraph is like he's like, I sucked. I went on the summer league team. I didn't have a single point, didn't get a single rebound. I did nothing right. He's like, and I learned how much more I had to do to get better. But he said, as we were leaving that day, my dad said to me, it doesn't matter if you score like 62 or 64 points or 0 points. I'll always love you. And that mindset that he spoke into him, Kobe said that was like the green light for, okay, let's go. He said, the H with that, I'm not going to score 0 points, but knowing my dad gave me that green light was like the ultimate support he needed to hear in that moment. And it led to who he was. I mean, obviously a lot more hard work, but like that was a shift for his mindset right there to hear his dad speak that into him.
Yeah, I feel like if you look up mindset in the dictionary, if you don't see Kobe or Michael Jordan, something's wrong.
Right. The Mamba mentality, man.
It's really is incredible, and it's so sad that he left the world so early, but look at the impact that man made.
Mm-hmm.
And most people talk about, yeah, he was talented. They talk about his hard work. Michael Jordan the same way, and I'm not even a huge basketball fan, but I have such an admiration for both of those guys because of their hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that comes from the mindset, man.
Right.
I have a personal story where my dad, my mom's always been like my biggest fan. My dad, there was a time where things weren't really working out very well for me in a basketball situation where I won't get into too many details, but the coach was, it was pretty unfair the way it was going down. So my dad said, hey, you're done, man. You're coming home with us. And I quit. I quit the team. It's the only time I quit baseball as a young kid, but it's the only time I quit. Right. And it was because my dad and I knew that the way that things were going, like, and not to be like the NIL day and era where it's like, you don't get your way, you just leave, right? This was blatant disrespect. And he had my back in that moment where it really kind of built the same belief in me and my mindset of like, dude, I can try anything because at worst, if it goes wrong, my parents are there to kind of pick me up if I need it when I don't know that I need it. It ended up being a great blessing for me. I played track after that because I had to make up sport, right? But knowing my dad had my back, even when I couldn't see it in that mindset phase where I was at, because I was so young, just like Kobe, man, it was like the green light to like, all right, man, I might fail, but my parents are going to pick me up. So it helped me develop the ability to just want to fail more, I guess, or try put myself out there.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm going to go back. I'm going to back up with a story of my childhood. No one would call it successful. So I was in high school, never wrestled before. I'd mentioned before that I played golf, not good at golf, and I wrestled because both sports you could just get on the team. I went to a small Catholic high school, and I think I started as a sophomore at 112. Never 2 years, never won a match. Never won a match. So most people would not admit that. I never won a match. I think I went the distance once or twice. Otherwise, I got pinned. My point is, my dad supported me. He made it to, I think, every meet. He never gave up on me. And my coach, his name was Roger Brandenburg. That man believed in me. Still think about him. He's actually a Facebook friend, and I hope he's listening to this, but the impact he made on me, the belief he gave me in myself, because I worked my butt off. Like I went to every practice. I never missed practice. I worked hard. I'm just not a real sports talented guy, right? Even though I worked hard, you start wrestling in high school, it's probably a little bit late for most guys, that it's just a very tough sport. But I think that might be where mindset was a place where I really started to learn about it. I learned to believe in myself. Even though I didn't win, I learned how to work hard. And my dad always believed in me. He taught me that, you can do anything. You might not win on the mat, but you're winning by coming out here week after week after week and facing humiliation. But I never felt humiliated, he never allowed me to feel humiliated, I guess. So I
That's
think
huge,
that,
man.
yeah, it was big. It was big.
Well, it teaches you just to keep showing up. It's it's a classic and well known quote. I had to look it up because I'd heard this going on through the dad edge stuff we went through, and I brought it up earlier too. The way we talk to our children becomes their inner voice by Peggy O'Mara, but a more masculine translated one, like we talked about with our dad's impact. A father's words echo in his children's heart long after they left the room, and the impact that our dads both had on us and that mindset to help shape, or that moment to shape our mindset is huge because I think as you go through this, the stories that you tell yourself become your reality. Your internal mindset becomes your external reality. And imagine how much differently that would have went if I had failed at that basketball moment or you had failed at the wrestling moment and our parents or our dad specifically weren't there to pick us up through that to help us shift and like learn from it and figure out where to go from that, opposed to just being like, well, you lost or the coach threw a clipboard at you, right? Whatever it may have been, it's like that has such a big impact in the positive direction, but it can also have a negative impact if we're not aware of it going into it as parents or as positive male role models. Like I think that's a huge example that you can set for people based off how you respond with your mindset. They'll see that and pick that up as well.
Yeah. I think that we're talking about Carol Dweck, and she talks about don't praise a kid because they're talented. Praise them because they worked hard.
Yeah,
I think that's huge.
absolutely, dude.
Because, and I never thought of it until I read that book. I never really thought of it. Praise them for how hard they worked. They won or they lost, so be it. But you saw that effort in them. And if they're really talented, so what if they accomplish something easy? Like, don't tear them down, right? But
Right.
I think that was cool.
Yeah, there was a study about that, and I can't remember where I heard it. They said there was a group of kids that they received high praise for being smart or knowing the answers in the test. There's a group that didn't receive any praise, and I can't remember exactly the third group. The third group was they just got like, I don't know, is it nothing or something? I can't remember exactly how it went. But it ended up being the group that did not receive the praise for being quote unquote smart over time did better because what they found is when you tell a kid like, hey, you're so smart, this comes easy to you, then it almost shuts their mindset off to the point where they're like, well, it's easy to me, I don't have to try at it. So instead of
Right.
like wanting to work harder at it, they just like turn that whole part of them off. It's very interesting. Again, the words that we speak and how they can shape that mindset and shape the reality without
Yeah,
even really probably intending to.
absolutely.
All right, so like we talked about, we're gonna do a mini series on mindset. Today was just kind of the introduction one, and as we wrap this up, some common things that we want to leave you guys with, or some foundational pieces of this is mindset is foundational. For us, we believe this is the thing that influences every breakthrough, setback, and all your relationships that you're gonna have throughout life.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's key to everything we do. I mean,
Mhm.
you either have a crappy mindset or you don't, right? I mean, it is kind of that simple.
Yeah.
It's the lens, like the way I look at it, it's the lens through which, we view ourselves, through our challenges, through others, and our futures.
And that's why something like self-talk can be so crucial too, because if you view yourself through that lens, the magic of thinking big, he talks about this. If you tell yourself crappy things or negative things all day long, you're gonna give it back to yourself. Because you can imagine if you put sand in your gasoline tank of your car, like you're just giving it not optimal stuff to have a result that you want it to have. So if you feed positive stuff, you'll get positive stuff back from your own mindset. So I think to build off that, your mindset affects your decisions. You're either by design or default, you may or may not realize it, but there's something that shaped your mindset that will help guide you through the decisions that you make throughout life.
I don't even think I have anything to add to that. You said that so well, but I totally agree.
Mm.
And the difference between a fixed and a growth mindset, it determines whether you stay stuck or you move forward. If we would have had a fixed mindset, we would have never started this,
Yeah, we wouldn't be here.
but we're growing. So, I mean, this is one of the times we definitely are invoking the growth mindset.
Yep. And we'll keep learning, keep getting better as we go. And
Yeah.
back to those stories that we tell ourselves daily, it shapes your confidence. It shapes the resilience that you may need when you're facing difficult things. It shapes how you see through challenges, and if you will or not.
Yeah, I agree. In your internal word, it creates your external reality, right, Paul?
Hmm.
Your mindset, it leads your outcome.
Yep. Don't want to hand this one too much home, but definitely pay attention to your self talk. Are you building yourself up, or are you tearing yourself down? If we can't talk positively about ourselves, who will?
Yeah, self-talk. And I've been a victim of negative self-talk for many years. And we talk about men's mental health, and mental health in general, not just for men. And there's so much negative self-talk. I have a good friend who is battling this in just the ugliest way, and I'm trying to help him, trying to get him through it, but he just continues to beat himself up and tell himself lies.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard when someone's in that spot to because we can't get out of there for them. Just speak love into them and just try to speak truth to them. But yeah, that's a dangerous place to be.
To your point, though, because the key that I left there was to pay attention to that self-talk. Because, like I said, if you don't speak highly of yourself, who will? But that's the importance of having people around you, because we have people around us that there may not have been times where we spoke as highly about ourselves as we should have. But if you have the right people around you, they can help build you up, or they can tell you the potential they see in you, even when you don't see it in yourself, just like this. So if you're not at a point where you can speak highly into yourself because you're trying to work on it, get those people around you that believe in you when you may not believe in yourself.
That reminds me of the last summit when you and I and Richie and some other guys were in a group, and we shared, it was real emotional for me. We shared how we saw ourselves. Mm-hmm. You probably remember it well also. I kind of lost it on that one. But the way I do see myself too often, though, is definitely in a negative light. I'm not seeing the positive things, and then you guys definitely made me feel better by saying, well, we don't see that in you.
Yeah.
But I think we all battle that. I think that's tough.
Dude, absolutely. Not to segue us too much here, but that was such a powerful exercise that we can do this on a later one. But just to give a brief of it, you write down all these things that you see about yourself, the positives, the negatives, whatever it is. And then you have people in your same group around you. And we had a great group. It was me, you, Richie, Ben, Josh. Josh was in there. Josh, dude, he's a great guy too.
Josh D.
And if there's anybody that I'm forgetting, I'm really sorry, but it was almost a year ago and I got little kids. So
right. It's been a while. It's fair.
Yeah. But you write down all these things that you see about yourself, and it was mostly negative stuff that we thought about ourselves or why we did the things we did. And then you had those people around you that you trust tell you how they see you. And it's can be really scary and sad, but also uplifting at times when people don't view you the same way that you view yourself. But by viewing yourself in that same way, you shut yourself off to so much potential. But luckily, if you have the right people around you, they can remind you like, dude, that's nowhere close to the way I see you. I view you as this, and they can build you back up. But then you got to keep doing that kind of work on yourself to be like, oh, dude, if that's the impact that I'm having, I got to do something different because I see myself so much more negatively, and naturally so.
Right. That was one of the most powerful group exercises I've ever done. Talk about vulnerability. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Got to have the right group, though.
It's got to be guys you know and guys that know you. You can't just put yourself with 5 guys that you don't know. That wouldn't have worked. But we did have a tight group. We chose well on that one.
Yeah, we did.
And also, Paul, I say be intentional. Be intentional about your mindset. It's either defaulting to fear or designed for growth.
Well said, man.
You got to be intentional. You got to be intentional.
Yeah, we talked off camera. We'll talk more about this one too. We were looking at our growth process. When we became more intentional about our mindset is when we really started to see things take off for us in a positive light, because I think it helped us not so much about what we were focused on, but we were able to let go of a lot of stuff that we shouldn't have been focused on, a lot of that negative or fear of what if, which obviously I said, we're not perfect. I was still thinking about this all weekend long. So it still comes back, but the more work you do on it, the more quickly I think you can get rid of it. But it's never going to completely go away.
It doesn't come easy, but just being aware.
Last thing I got right here too is, like we've pretty much talked about this whole time, is mindset matters most in how you show up, especially as a husband or a wife, a father or a mother, a leader and a believer. It's really going to shape how you show up. And like we talked about that lens too. So if you're not in a place that you want to be with that mindset, like we said, maybe reach out to some people that can help build you up until you can get to the point where you can build yourself up too.
Yeah, having those people in your corner. And I'm blessed to have those. Paul's as close as they get. I mean, I know I can turn to him anytime. 3 a.m., I can call Paul. He can call me. But you got to have those people in your corner for sure. And that's a really good place to segue into our discussion question. Something for the listeners and the viewers. What's a mindset you used to live by that you now realize is holding you back? I'm going to put all this stuff, it'll be in the notes for both the podcast audio and the YouTube. But what's a mindset you used to live by that you now realize was holding you back?
Yeah, that could be something that you still are hoping to get rid of or something that you've already overcome. And I really like that whole approach of David Goggins' cookie jar. Look back on times that you overcame something really difficult and use that positive reinforcement or that positive feedback to say, okay, I can handle some really hard things. This is just another one in my way to prove to myself that I can do this.
Yeah, if you haven't read Can't Hurt Me, warning, the language is David's colorful.
Yeah.
In his language, you got to be able to get past that. If you're struggling with self-belief, you need to read it. And I'll try to put anything we talk about in the podcast, we try to put it in the notes if we remember when we're writing the notes out. But yeah, Can't Hurt Me, David Goggins.
Listen to the audio. Do not listen to the audio with your kids in the car.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
I won't go too far on this one, but that book, that audio book alone made me go run a marathon on my own on a river trail in the rain because it gets you to this spot of like, you start really questioning things. You're like, wow, I really didn't show up the way I could have because I shut my own mind off to the possibility. And like he said, there's a famous quote about the pull-up record. He's like, the guys gave me the numbers and they're like, oh, you got to do this or this. They're like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm doing the math. And he was trying to figure out how many pull-ups he had to do per minute to break the record. That's a humongous growth mindset right there.
Dude, and he did it.
Yeah.
After several tries. Well, someone's beaten him since. But
yeah,
he did it. And he wasn't built to do it. We won't go crazy on that. But yeah, we're probably running out of time today. We've been quite flowy in our talks. So
those are good takeaways, man. So I think some common mindset misconceptions that we've kind of came across as I thought about was going through this, the people we talk to. Many of us unknowingly live out of fixed mindsets throughout life. And that can look like, this is just how I am. And thinking that you can't change it.
Yeah, you can definitely change it. Been there, done that. And if I fail, I'm not good enough. How many times have you told yourself that? As a kid, I always told myself that if I failed at a sport or whatever, a little kid especially.
Yep. Yeah. And how many times have we failed and came back better too?
Almost always.
Yeah, right. What's Michael Jordan say? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. It's crazy. I mean, mindset's everything. I don't even know how else to say it. Mindset is everything. Mm-hmm. Greatest enemy or your greatest ally.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Another common misconception, others are just naturally better at this than me. Think about, like, we talked a lot about Kobe and Michael Jordan, obviously, but deservingly so. Imagine if they looked at their situations and were like, other people are just better than me. I might as well not even try.
Yeah, you know what? I bet you 99% of those people that are better than you worked harder than you. Didn't give up. Kept trying. Just a hunch.
Think about, like, if we would have never started this podcast because Joe Rogan or Larry Hagner are better than us. Because they are.
Absolutely.
But if we don't give ourselves at least the potential or the possibility of trying, then we'll never know.
But you know what? When Joe Rogan started, how many times did he say the same thing? Guarantee he said it. He probably still says it. But you got to try. Got to put one step forward. You got to jump. Steve Harvey, you got to jump.
Yep.
Got to jump. If it doesn't come easy, it's not meant to be. That's kind of my last misconception.
Yeah, and like we just talked about, if it's not easy, that doesn't mean you should quit. It just means you got to try harder or get more efficient.
I mean, for men especially, mindset, it gets tangled in their identity. I mean, think about, I have to figure it out all by myself. Nah, not so much, right?
That lone wolf approach, man. It's just, I can't think of a time where I was going through something difficult, and I'm pretty resourceful, but to come out of that without having people around me help influence or shape it, I don't think there was a time where I've done something. I mean, the marathon challenge, I don't have anywhere else to go, but Goggins shifted it that way. My kids and my wife met me halfway through and gave me some Gatorade. So there's still people around you where it's like, I don't know a time where I've lone wolfed it and it worked out for me.
It never works out. What happens to the lone wolf in real life? The real lone wolf.
Well, he left behind, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he dies. You need your pack.
Yep.
Paul, you're a big part of my pack. I appreciate that, brother.
Hey, absolutely, man. You're a big part of mine too. And like we talked about earlier, it's about having those right people around you, having the right people in your pack. And that can look like, that lone wolf part can look like maybe the failure of asking a question or the failure of looking silly if you ask a question. So that leads to this misconception of, asking for help is a weakness. Man, how many times are there misconceptions mentally for men and emotionally of you can't ask for help, you can't do this, you can't be that. I got to shout out my buddy Ben here. His wife pretty much just retired him. He's a stay-at-home dad right now, and he even said there was this mental hurdle of like the whole stigma in back in the day, like your wife can't make more than you. Dude, so what? Like he said, I get to spend so much more time with my kids, otherwise I wouldn't be able to. It's for his family too, so it's overcoming a lot of those outdated mindset misconceptions. I know there's still people that plug into them, but it's really about whatever works best for your family too.
I say good for Ben. That's awesome, man. That is
Absolutely. I'm jealous.
Awesome. Who's not? I mean, we're a little bit too close to retirement for that now, but yeah, I would have done that. Absolutely, Bobby. Just saying, if you want, I would have been okay with that.
Yep.
How about your worth is tied to how you perform? Just think if I had that mindset when I was that horrible wrestler. My dad, my coach helped me overcome that.
That's huge, man. And think about how many times throughout our careers where you don't get paid what your worth is, right? Because there's pay scales, there's different things. So it's all about, that's not your identity. It's not who you are. It's not what you bring to the table. It's a paycheck. There's a lot of reasons you need it, but it's not who you are.
I could probably go on for 10 minutes on identity.
Oh yeah. That's why there's a 3-part series.
Exactly. So we're not going to go there. Just to kind of sum it up, Paul, the truth, I mean, growth takes time, right? Leadership takes humility, and your mindset can change. Starting today, guys, gals, ladies, gentlemen, it really can start today. It is a conscious effort, period.
Yep. And one that, even if it starts to change today, don't think it's all about that comfort zone, right? Like you can make some pretty big changes. Don't get comfortable. Right. Know that there's going to be challenges that come up. Like I talked about earlier, where I can feel like I'm in a pretty good space with my mindset until a curveball comes, and it's like, how are you going to handle that? And this is one that I may talk about more in our next couple of episodes. When we lost a baby last year, I thought my mindset was pretty rock solid. That floored me. And it's one of those things where it's like, don't ever get comfortable in your mindset, because what helped get you there can often help get you back there, but you can't forget about it.
Yeah. We've been there too, many years ago. Yeah. That's tough.
One of the toughest things I ever dealt with, man, and continue to.
I'm not even going to say it gets easier because everyone's different, right? You can't minimize it because we all handle things differently, but that's a tough one for sure.
Yeah, I could throw a little more on top of that, because I did have a buddy that reached out to me about the mindset piece, and he provided some pretty good religious insight for me. But I was in such a dark place that even at that point, I wasn't willing to hear it because my mindset was in a bad spot. But looking back at it now, we were at a point before we got pregnant, because we had kind of given up on trying, because it had taken so long to have our third baby, where we were just like, okay, it kind of is what it is. And Amber was about to have a surgery that would have made it so she couldn't have carried another baby after that. I mean, you remember, you were with me through this whole process. Yeah. So when we got pregnant, we're like, wow, this is definitely like, this is the best thing ever. We weren't even trying. So this prevented her from having a surgery. Then we lost that baby. Now we're pregnant again. We're 32 weeks pregnant. Had that not have happened for us, we never would have had the chance to have the baby that we're having now. So it's like, it's really, really hard. I'm not even going to try to say it's not. I'm not going to minimize it at all, because it still messes with me. Yeah. But oftentimes there is something going on that we may or may not be able to see in that moment. So it's a matter of continuing to stay faithful and continue to have the most positive mindset you can have, even in those dark times. Because when you look back at it, you can often kind of find a lesson or something in it that you can take away from it.
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. As we wrap up, I'm going to do the verse of the day, as we call it. Romans 12:2. This is the NIV version. Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will.
It's a reminder too, like I said, you can't get comfortable with that mindset. Renew your mind daily. Make sure you're doing the right things, reading the word, or staying connected to close friends, reading the right stuff. Yeah. A lot of it comes into what you put into your mind too, other than just self-talk, or your external stuff, what you listen to, what you read, what you watch.
Everything contributes to our mindset. Like you said, what you watch on TV, the books you read, the music you listen to, food you put in your body. I mean, all of that stuff, people don't really take that into consideration, but your environment, I could go on and on, but everything that's around you contributes to your mindset.
Absolutely.
And true change starts in the mind.
And like the verse reminds us, renewal is a daily choice.
Yeah. Wrap it up with a renewed mind brings clarity. Dude, this was an amazing discussion tonight. It really was. Tonight when we're recording, I hope people find some value in this, and I'd love to get some comments. What do you guys think about what we're doing? Are we feeding you a little bit? Are we making an impact? Just any kind of feedback would be great, because Paul and I want to do better, right? We want to grow, and we're here for the listeners and the viewers.
Yeah, the feedback we've gotten so far has been super encouraging too. And there's a lot of people that said we're on the right track, but if there are topics that you guys want to hear us dive into, I mean, we don't have the answers for everything, right? But we're more than willing to dive into stuff, find resources like the books, or talk about personal experiences that we've seen while we jumped into a different journey of coaching people through the Dad Edge as well. So we're definitely open to whatever topics you guys suggest to us as well. Obviously, PG rated, or maybe PG-13 at times.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it clean.
Thanks for listening today. We don't take that for granted.
Your support matters. You're part of something much bigger, and we're thankful you're on this journey with us.
Stay strong, stay intentional, and know you're not walking this alone.
If this challenged you, please share the impact. Growth is better together.
We'll see you next time on Brotherhood Forged.